record to the cloud.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Well done.
Okay. Hopefully you recorded to the cloud. Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right. We're going to get started.
All right. Well, welcome to our SAC Ask the Expert session. We are excited to be here today to learn about new topics, from video to how to using technology and much more. Clifton Warren is our ambassador for the Pacific Rim region. And so and Clifton is going to introduce his colleagues. And Clifton is a business development expert, and he is a financial guru, so and a consultant. He's from both the U.S. and now been living in Australia. So Clifton, I would like to turn this over to you so we could talk about leveraging technology and how we can add value to our practices and to our clients through the use of technology.
Great. Thank you, Lisa.
So
and good morning,
Before
everyone.
we turn this over to you, I just want to say to everyone, if you have a question, put it in chat or put your hand up and we will call on you when we have a chance. Okay. And now I'm going to let the technology guys do their thing. Let's spotlight them.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
And good morning,
right.
everyone. If you're a solo professional, solo consultant, freelancer, facilitator, speaker, salesperson, the ability to create great content is essential. And so today we want to show you some really cool tools and fun way to work that can help add value to your clients and hopefully add value to your business. I'm joined here by Dale Gilham, an expert in all this technology here. And so we'll go through it piece by piece. But firstly, before I begin, we're just in an office room here. Dale has set up a studio here. So we want to show you what is possible and what you can do for very little cost. So we're going to, I'm going to interview Dale for just a few minutes, and then I'll open up the questions. Fire all your questions at Dale as much as you like, and we'll try our best to answer. But we want you to walk away today with ideas and your imagination run on how you can build something really special. Now, Dale is an award-winning, best-selling author. He runs a company called Wealth Within, but more importantly, what's got my interest, and I know Dale for a little bit now, he's created his own TV channel, a Netflix-style channel that he serves his customers both here and around the world. So we're going to get into that, of how you can do things like that, so well as podcasting, videos, webinars, and the works. Dale, welcome.
Thank you. I'm not a technology expert, though. I just had to learn on the fly. Don't oversell me on that side.
Okay. Well, okay. So you're a consultant. You're a professional like all of us here.
Yeah.
How did you move into the space? How did you evolve your business into here?
Well, it basically had to. It's about setting yourself apart. Like I've been in the financial industry all my life, and we do run a government accredited course on the stock market. So I'm an educator. I'm also a boutique fund manager. But I wrote my first book in 2003, I think it was 4. We released it. It became a bestseller. It was all on the stock market, but I needed to get my message out. And how could I do that when you've got the competition of all the financial services, all the big players, the big brokers, the big fund managers pushing out there? So I just started my Talking Wealth podcast. So that started in about 2005 with a basic handheld microphone that you would sing into, in a normal band, a $20-odd boom microphone stand from the local music store as well, and plugging that directly into the back of my old Windows XP PC and recording 5-minute podcasts. And that was it, because we couldn't go over about 3 megabytes of storage space, because you couldn't stream that much and you couldn't store that much, because the average hard drive was like 100 megabytes or 100 gigabytes at the time, not even that, 100 megabytes. So, and now we do, every month we're doing 120,000 downloads a month of our podcast.
Wow.
And it's award-winning. We get 20% of our downloads from North America. Yeah. So that's where we started.
Now, when you talk about the old technology, it seems like a long time ago. In fact, it was only just a few years ago. And one thing the pandemic taught us was that there's more out there. There's more, and things got better very quickly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, things are really, like I looked at about 13, 14 years ago, doing what we're doing now with talkingwealth.com, running my own online TV show. But the cost for me to do that then was somewhere around $200,000 in equipment, in cameras and those sorts of things. Now you can do it for a few $100. Okay. The equipment is there to be able to get high quality streaming very, very cheaply. Now, what we're doing in here now, as you said, we're in an office. So this is our boardroom we're sitting in. I just wanted to show people what you could do with almost no money and make it look good. So we'll talk a bit about how we've actually done that. And I've set this up myself, and anybody can set themselves up.
Okay. Yeah. Now, let me just back up for a second here. You know, when I first started dabbling in this stuff, not that long ago, Skype was the leading edge technology.
Correct.
And then I moved over to Zoom, particularly during the pandemic. Let's talk about Zoom for a second here, because it's a platform everyone knows. What are some of the pros? What are some of the pros and cons of working with Zoom, the advantages?
Zoom is really good for one-on-one meetings or when you're getting your team together. So, I mean, as for our education business, we use Teams, same thing. And we have all our team on it. So I still use that for that. I still also use Zoom for meetings, because obviously you've got webcams in your laptops. You've also got some great little HD webcams you can use as well. So it's great for that sort of thing. But it's not good for things like YouTube and presenting yourself properly, especially if you're interviewing, because Zoom, you can't.
Morning.
Everybody's on the one screen, and all of the people are there on the screen, so you can't separate that. So what we're doing for our live streaming and our other video production is we use other software where we're recording our guests and other people completely separate to us. That way you've got a lot more functionality in the back end in what they call post-production. So you get your teams can edit. And if there's something going on with somebody's internet feed and they're a bit pixely or whatever else, you can just put an image or something over that and make it still look really, really good.
Yeah, great. Now, we're using Zoom today.
We're using Zoom today.
But it's in a professional environment that you have set up.
Well, it sort of is, yeah. So if people want to see the back end of what we're doing today, I've set up my laptop across the room there. So there's a stream coming from just my laptop, my MacBook Pro, just a really old MacBook Pro, so they can see the back end, the whole scene that we've got in. We can talk about that later if we like.
Sure.
But I just wanted to show people what we could do. Now, the sound is not ideal in here because we do have all these hard surfaces, so it's a little bit echoey, but it's still really good.
Yes, it is.
You know, it's not as good as what we do in our professional studios, which is like silence, and it's really nice and resonant. You want to hear Clifton in that one. It's really, really good. But it's great quality, and you can see the vision that we've got is really good, high quality, high definition.
Great. But let's talk beyond Zoom for a second here. Besides Zoom and Teams, what else is available that produces the quality and not expensive to use?
And not expensive to use. You're talking about live stream, or you're talking about?
We'll come to live stream in a second, but purely like Zoom formats and so forth.
For our students, we've been doing this for 15, 16 years. We were live streaming seminars using Adobe Connect. Before it was even called Adobe Connect, it used to be called Macromedia Breeze, and Adobe bought those, and we still use that today for teaching our students. So every month we just use HD webcams. We're not using our fancy studio cameras, just HD webcams. I have our assessors around Australia, and they'll get on using their HD webcams and live stream using Adobe Connect. And I think it cost me like $1,200 a year, but it works behind a paywall. We looked at Zoom to do that, and I spent a lot of time with the Zoom people wanting to switch over, but Zoom was more expensive, and it wouldn't do what we needed to do. So Adobe has some great products like that. So they record it all, they stream it all. We have all the links behind our paywall, so our students log in, they can see all of the recordings, and with Adobe, 100% it's going to stream perfectly for you. So we don't have issues. That's why we've been with them for 16 years.
So now what about Skype? Now, I know it's old technology, but does it still work today?
Yeah, it still works today. It's it's like Zoom, and they're trying to they dropped the ball, didn't they, during COVID? And they could have been the leader. Zoom just took off. and right place, right time. But Skype does work, and Skype is still really, really good. You can also use Messenger and Microsoft Messenger, those sorts of things. And even things like if you've got a Mac, you can use QuickTime or you can use FaceTime, those sorts of things. Like QuickTime on a Mac, which comes natively on a Mac, you can record your desktop, you can record using exactly the camera we're using today. And the camera we're using today is what they call a PTZ camera. It's $2,000, but it plugs directly into a USB port.
Wow.
And it's sort of like, you can see it in the other image from my Mac. You can actually see the camera off onto the right-hand side of the screen.
Yes.
It's sitting on a tripod. And that's sort of like what they put in boardrooms, you know, and they have it on the boardrooms with the board talking and streaming to the world. That's high definition quality. You can broadcast live shows with that and look absolutely magic. But you can do that with a normal Logitech Logitech high definition webcam as well.
Yeah, I have a webcam on my computer, and I noticed the other day when I was doing a Zoom meeting, it kept getting fuzzy. Then I realized I still had the original packaging across the camera, so I pulled plastic off, and what do you know? Everything was a whole new world to me. So we have Zoom, we have Skype, we have QuickTime, Adobe. So there's a range of
One more we've got. It's a if you want a live stream, there's one called, it's completely free, it's open source. It's called OBS. Okay, it started out of the gaming people wanting to stream their games and talk to other gamers. It is a brilliant product. It's completely free, but it's a little bit more technical. Like Skype, Zoom, real easy click bump, it's working. But OBS, we can put in multiple cameras and add in lots of different things like switches, audio interfaces, what they call ATEM machines, where you can have 6 and 7 cameras and switch between them. You put all the animated graphics like you see on live TV, you know, with the things along the bottom and all sorts of other things you can do. So, but there are a lot of YouTube videos showing you how to use that as well. But it's completely free, runs on a Mac or a PC, and you know, we sometimes use it to do desktop recording for our assessment team because they're not in our studio. But we also used to use things like Adobe Captivate. Brilliant product if you're an educator, because you can do lots of different things that are SCORM compliant, but you can do things like quizzes in there and etc. And so if somebody gets the answer right, you can send them down one path. If they get it wrong, it'll send them down another path. It can open up PDFs, videos, web links, you name it. Brilliant product if you are an educator like you, that you want to create stuff like that, and you can do it. And it's a brilliant product because, again, it's an Adobe product. That's going to be good.
Yeah, good. Now, before we get into the products here, I would like to touch on podcasts. How do you create your podcast? What do you use, and what are the options?
Seriously, podcasting is so much easier today than it used to be. One of the critical things with podcasting and any sort of recording that I want to really, really stress, it's always sound is first. If you do anything else, make sure the sound that you're putting out is brilliant as you can possibly get it. I'm not happy with the sound today because of the hard walls, but that's me being really picky. So I wouldn't do a live stream using this sound. I would have to put soundproofing. And soundproofing is as simple as this stuff, you know. It's just foam. Just cheap foam with, looks like an egg carton. You just stick it a few places on your wall, and what you're wanting to do is just stop the bounce. That's all you want, because the quality of the sound will be there if you stop the bounce. But podcasting is as simple as just getting one of those little handheld mics and putting it through. There's little audio interfaces. When you're talking about a microphone like this is a condenser microphone. I've done literally 1,000 podcasts on this, and it absolutely is so brilliant. It's an Audio Technica one, not expensive. This is literally about 15 years old. And you just plug it in and but it's analog. Most microphones have analog, unless you get something like Blue Yeti there, and you can get Snowball. I think you've got a Snowball.
Yeah, I have a Snowball.
They have a USB and they'll feed in. I hate those. I had a young guy about 10 years ago, 8 years ago, said, you've got to get a Blue Yeti. All the podcasters are using them. Got a Blue Yeti and did a podcast, and I went, that's crap compared to something like this. It really is. But these, I can do this with that sitting right out there, and you'll hear that. That's how sensitive that. So you need to create a little sound booth for yourself. But if you want to do podcasting and you don't have the room, you can't put a little sound booth in, but you can use that foam and just sit it in a little cupboard if you like. That's all you need. And I've done podcasts from hotel rooms, airport lounges. I just try and find places where there's lots of soft stuff. And then I talk into a pillow because I don't want that bounce. But this is really cheap. You can get audio interfaces from which turn the analog signal into a digital one. We're using one right now, which is by Rode. It's only like maybe $100. So you plug whatever microphone you want in, you plug your headphones into it. It plugs into a USB and you've got really nice sound. You can't play with the sound much unless you use something like put it through GarageBand and put some filters in. And there's other different audio interfaces you can also get. And you can get some really good free ones as well. One thing I want to show you is where is it? This thing. These are absolutely brilliant microphones. These are actually Rode microphones. This is what I'm podcasting on now.
Okay.
And these have what they call a pop filter built into them. So when you do podcasting, you've got to be, the closer you are to the mic, the better your voice will sound. Too many people sit far back. And what happens with your voice, it goes that way. But what you want is to capture all of that or as much of that as you can. So you need to have it up close. But when you say P, B, it pops.
Yes.
A lot of air goes into your mic. These have internal pop filters. This thing over here, if you can see that on the live thing, I don't know if I can see that on the main camera, that's a pop filter. It's like $20, $30. You can just plonk that onto any microphone.
So how much does a Rode one that when you showed up cost?
This one, this one's less, probably, I think it's around $200.
Oh, 200 Australian dollars, so it's even cheaper in the US.
Yeah, it's cheaper in the US. It's really, really, really cheap. Great. And you'll see, I was interviewing a gentleman the other day called Adam Carroll. So he's just got 6 million YouTube views on a TEDx talk that he did. I interviewed him 2 days ago. First microphone on his camera was that microphone.
Okay.
And he's actually using this Rode Podcaster Pro as well. So if you want to do podcasting cheaply, 2 things I would definitely get. Number one is a really good microphone. You cannot sacrifice your sound. People will put up with poor image a bit, but they'll never put up with poor sound. Because if the image is a bit poor and the sound's clear, they'll still watch your videos. But if your audio is terrible and your vision's clear, they'll just turn you off straight away. And that's really clear. So if you're going to do just audio podcasts, still, you need to make it really crisp and more resonant. The more you play with the sound and get a little bit more, especially ladies too. And it's more, even ladies get annoyed with ladies' voices sometimes because they pitch up at the end. So what I do with my co-host, Janine, is when we just buy a little mixer. You can buy them for a couple of $100, little digital mixers, 2 or 3 channel mixers. You just put a little bit more bass, take out a bit of the treble and the high stuff. Her volume's generally a bit louder than mine because I've got a bigger voice. And to balance that out, to tone her down a little bit. And then she practices doing voice exercises to get a bit more resonance and tone in her voice so she doesn't have some of those high pitch. And it's just a bit of practice. But you need to make sure that is really good. So really cheap mixer, just go into any local music store. They'll have a little 2-channel mixer, preferably a digital one, which will plug USB into your computer, a couple of $100 for that, a couple of $100 for the mic that plugs into your mixer. You can plug it straight in, get a GarageBand on a Mac or a PC equivalent of that, and put maybe a little filter, some little voice filters on it. Sometimes you might put like a noise, you can filter out S-in. You can also do filter out other different noises. Audacity is a free program that runs on PC where you can record podcasts in. I use Audacity to transfer all my vinyl onto digital. So really cheap, cut and paste all your stuff. If you want something a bit better, you go for something like a Pro Tools and you get something like an M-Box, which is basically a digital interface where you plug your microphone in and then plugs into your computer. And you use Pro Tools, which is what a lot of the professional podcasters will use. A Pro Tools, a lot more functionality, but GarageBand is so easy to use and it's perfect.
And it comes free.
And it's free with me.
Now let's, what are some of the things you have here?
Well, just
can
with
I
podcast,
interrupt you a second, guys? I just want to interrupt. Can we, after this is over, if you can send us an email with a list of kind of all the products you're showing, that way people are not trying to get all the names down, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I was going to say I was saying to Clifton, I'll take photos of everything and then I can listing
Perfect.
all the little things, because there's more stuff that's not even in this room that we use as well. But one of the things is also we use a lot of my podcasts in the last 5 or 6 years was done on a Zoom H5, which is a digital audio recorder. It's handheld. It looks like one of those old mobile phones that size.
Yep.
And on the top of it, it's got 2 little microphones that cross over. But you can take that off, and I can plug 4 different mics into it. So I can plug this into it via the normal 3-pin cables into it, and it records to an SD card. Now, the beauty of that is I can plug this straight into it, take it to a hotel anywhere in the world, and I can record a podcast, high quality.
Wow.
And I can play with it, and it's on an SD card. Take the SD card out, put it into my MacBook Pro, play with it on GarageBand, done deal. The other beauty is if you like to interview people in cafes or on the street, you take it with you, those 2 little microphones, you sit it on the table, hit go, and outside some of the ambient noises that you've got, it's amazing quality, and they're like $200.
Okay,
they're
really inexpensive.
Yeah, to maybe, I think there's a Zoom H6 now, but great quality. You can plug a lapel microphone onto it. We often will do a video with an iPhone, like on the street, walking on the street. The iPhone's doing the image, and I've got a lapel microphone, one of these things called, these are Rode lav microphone. They come with a cute little box that you have, little things like a miniature one of these little sock things for wind as well. Really cheap, plug straight into it. And when you plug into it, we start the iPhone recording the video. I talk and clap. So the iPhone audio picks that up. It sees me clap. The microphone on me hears me clap. It's recorded into the Zoom H5, which is clipped to my belt. And I can walk and talk from 500 meters away, and the sound is perfect. And it's so cheap to do. And you just put the video footage from your iPhone or your Android phone, because they've got great cameras on them. You put it into iMovie, and then you put, because you've got the audio track and the clap, you can match the audio track that you from the Zoom that you've recorded your good audio from. You just drop that in, delete the iPhone audio, and done deal. Right. It's not hard to do, and might sound a little bit complex, but I can guarantee anybody watching can just get onto YouTube and go, how do I do these in iTunes? And they'll find out in 5 minutes, and it'll be done. And you'll be amazed at the quality, because a lot of iPhone stuff, or people outside, it's wind noises, it's all sorts of stuff. It's crappy. But get that audio good, and people will love your videos.
So some of the other tools you have, is that a mixture you have there?
This is called a Rodecaster Pro 2. Now, this is this is what we're using now.
Yes.
Okay. As I said before, I was using this straight into a PC and etc. and then from there. But this Rodecaster Pro, this is absolutely, and it sounds like a Rode commercial, but interestingly, we started buying this Rode gear, and then I found out they were an Australian company, which blew me away. Now, I want to show you this is about 700 Australian odd dollars. These microphones here are, as I said, a couple of $100, and a boom mic. All of this set up, 2 boom mics, 2 microphones, and this is about $900 Australian. So what's that, about 600 US?
Yes.
Roughly like that. So if you're in the UK, it's about £500, not even that. That's not expensive stuff. But this thing, you've got 4 inputs into it for microphones. You've got 4 headphone outputs across there. So you can have 4 people sitting around a table with headphones on talking. These pads are for sound effects, or you can have your intro and outro of your podcast on it. You can also touch a thing, and my light just went off. Not sure why. But you can just touch it and put in and out points. If you make a mistake or you're coughing, you can just touch it and stop it, and pause it, start again, or you can touch the screen and it'll mark it on your sound file, so you can go back and take the cough out or the mistake out, because you know exactly where it is. A lot of little things you can do, put sound effects in there. You can all amazing little things you can actually do with this little thing. But the $700-800 is pretty good.
Okay.
So that's that one. This is the microphone we're actually using today. It's a Rode NTG5. There's 3, 4s, 5s, and 6s now. Again, pretty cheap. This is a directional microphone. And what that means is, it's got a big long thing on the end of it, which means the microphone's not at the end, it's right down here. So what it's doing is the side noise it's blocking out. So this is what they use on broadcast TV, but it's only a few $100s. They're really, really cheap and really, really good. And I use those in my studio quite regularly too. I'll have lav microphones on you and me, but then I'll have that one pointing at us, so I can get a bit more of a bigger sound and a little bit more balanced sound rather than booming everything. And that's, you're getting a tiny little bit more technical there, but they all run into a normal digital mixer.
Good. Now, a couple of areas before I open up the questions. How should you set up your lighting? And what are the tips and advice for that?
Lighting's really, really critical in terms of the visual side of things, because cameras, like I started doing YouTube streaming on a Nikon DSLR with a H and recording into that, and this thing on the top of it. So this thing is what they call a Video Mic Pro. That's what it is. This is a Rode Video Mic Pro. And if you look at YouTube videos of people out in the street, 99% of the time somebody's got one of these on their camera. And so you just plug that directly into the side of your camera. That's just a normal little audio plug, Nikon, Canon, whatever you like. And they are brilliant. And it's just, as you can see, it's an empty tube. The mic's right in the end there. Great little thing. And I recorded a whole webinar series for our students in a home theater with no soundproofing, with that on a Nikon DSLR, and we're still using those today. And that looks brilliant.
So you've set up an ordinary office here into a studio.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to do it, to show people what you can do and the quality, because the vision, if my light hadn't turned off, I don't know why it turned off. Maybe it's not plugged in somewhere, or maybe the battery run out. But this is the lights we're using. If you want to grab that, these are the lights we're using. These are off eBay. They're like, literally, you can buy them singly for a couple $100, but you can buy a whole pack of 3 of them for under $1,000. If you want to turn it over the back, these slots are here for batteries. So you plug the power cord in if you're at home, the batteries charge up. These last for a few hours. So we take these out on the street. You can change the brightness, and they've got color filters that slot in on the front of them. That's just plastic. Cheap as.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what we're using just before it turned off. So when you're going to light yourself, you can see the shadowing behind us, and I purposely left that in there just so you can see what happens. So we've just got the one light up here, or what it was on when you saw it nice. But you always have to have what they call a key light. So that's the front light. But you've also got to have side lights and a backlight.
Okay.
Really important, the backlight, to give you that 3D. We've used things called, a couple of lights called NAN lights on the side. So you can see on that wall, we've got an orangey light flashing. This wall behind us, it looks blue. It's actually olive green. This wall is white, but it looks blue. And so if you see our YouTube videos, you'll see blue and you'll see orange behind us. And we're projecting onto a black wall. Now, if you want to grab that big long tube, it looks like a Star Wars lightsaber. So that's what it is. That's what we're using. You can see in the corner of my MacBook Pro Vision, if you look onto the right-hand side, very right-hand side, you'll see a light going straight up. It's just sitting on a normal speaker, a normal microphone stand. And we can change multiple colors from this. It's called a NAN light. They're robust. It's heavy. And you can buy one at a time for a couple $100, or you can buy 5 for about $2,000.
Wow.
And we sit them on the floor. You can put them on a stand like that. They've got a little clamp, and it's like a little T-bar. You can sit them that way. You can sit them on the floor. You can just lean them against something. But you can backlight yourself really easily and create different colors. And you can see here, as I said, you're looking more blue because we've changed the color of the green to blue.
Match my eyes.
Match your eyes. And as I said, on this side, we're more blue. But, and you'll see it much better in our studio because the black wall actually does it better. But yeah, they're pretty cheap.
So basically, you need a main light. It's back on. You need a main light, which should be over your head.
Yes.
And then a side or a back light for your. So if a typical home office, well, I'll use myself as an example. I have my desk, and then I have a back wall, which is a bookcase.
Yes.
And
LED strips are really good for that. LED strips, because they're cheap, they're easy to do. What we often do when we're working with guests who are remotely coming in to our Talking Wealth interviews, like a lot of people I interview through the US and around the world, we often ask them to put extra lighting on. Often people sit too close to their webcams because they're used to doing Zoom meetings.
Yes.
Yeah, if you can touch your desk, you're probably too close. You should be further right back, because you want to give yourself, if you're doing a production for yourself, you can get great cameras but you don't want to be right up close. What you want to do is give yourself a lot of space around you, because then it gives you 3 options for different shots, because you can digitally zoom in iMovie if you like. It's like comes with the Mac. So you can just crop around you and zoom it right in, or you can move yourself to the side and put a PowerPoint slide next to you, or you can zoom yourself to the other side. But if you're right up close, you have no options. So put your lighting from the floor sometimes to highlight something like a plant, or put things, because you want to get that depth behind you. You also want to highlight the back of your head, because what happens is people want to look at your face. So you've got to have your face all lit up properly and evenly. That's a really important one. So you see those round lights where they put their iPhones in the middle of them?
Yes.
They're perfect for that, because often we see people, you've got half a face is perfect and the other half is not perfect, or one half is overexposed and the other one's dark. And they have to look at your eyes. So if you've got hats on and things like that, make sure they can see your eyes, and make sure your face is evenly lit. So that's why you have to have a key light, and preferably 2 side lights. And they're so cheap. You can get these tiny little things from eBay that you can put on tiny little stands, little tripod stands on your desk, and just to really evenly fill the front. But if you don't do the back, you look flat.
Yeah.
So do the back as well. And these lights, I can sit them on the floor. I can sit them on a stand. I can put live strip LED lights on the floor really cheaply.
Yeah. Now let's touch on live streaming.
Yep.
Firstly, what is live streaming, and how can you do it cost-efficient way? Is it possible to do it at the low cost?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the easiest way, HD webcam on a laptop or computer, get onto Zoom, live stream. But you can use OBS completely free. OBS you can stream directly through. It's just about having what they call the RTMP feed. And I won't get into all the technicals because I'll get lost myself. I have a team of people that do this. But basically, it'll take a feed into OBS and stream it to Facebook and YouTube, or any place like Vimeo. We use a company called Wistia for all of our education. We've been using Wistia for well over a decade. They store all our educational videos, all our webinars, that stuff. They don't do all the bells and whistles. What they do is host video, take a URL. You can send that to anybody. You can embed into your web pages, everything else, and it's cheap. It stores all your videos, and they work. But you can do other things with if you like. But just a straight HD webcam into OBS, and you can stream straight away to YouTube, Facebook, whatever else, because it'll do the rest for you. If you want to be a little bit fancier, you need to have things that will actually allow you to record your feed. OBS, I believe it will record for you, but you're better off having an external recording device. Doing software recording slows your PC down, so you might have issues. What you want to do is send it to another device. So we have other products from a company called Blackmagic in here, which we bought because it was cheap. Okay, so we started buying Blackmagic gear, and lo and behold, I did some research on Blackmagic and found out they're 3 kilometers from where we live. There's an Australian company. So Blackmagic is, if you want to grab that big box there, top. This is the cameras that we use in our studio. They're $2,000 without a lens. They don't record into them, so they need to record into something. But this is what we use, and we've been streaming with these for 3 years. We've got 4 cameras, and they're just brilliant studio cameras, like for price. Comparison, I went to the company, because we're spending a lot of money on studios downstairs, and I went, most of the productions you see that people walk around the street on your television, they use what they call a Sony FX6, okay? I looked at a version, a Sony FX6 is 13,000.
Wow.
Just for the body, plus the lens. So it's about 17 to 20,000 Australian. And that's what, if you watched any of the reality TV shows, those sorts of things, they're walking around with those. That's what they're using for broadcast television. News people will use that. So that's the difference. That's the 10th of the price, and it'll do the same thing. So it's really high quality, but you need to get some of their other gear that feeds the camera into it. And so then you can also do some switching. A really cheap way of doing it is this thing here. I'll just show you. We've got one of these things. This is called a Shogun. Okay. And what it is it's, as you can see, it's a screen, but I can put 4 HDMI inputs into this. This is about $2,000 Australian. I can put computer in there, 3 DSLR cameras in there. Anything with a HDMI out can go into that. And you'll see when the screen lights up, every single feed will be on that screen.
Wow.
And then I can just touch the screen and it switches to that. And the output from that goes into an SD card that sits in the back, like a big one, a fast SD card. So I can just switch on the run in the middle of the street because it's battery operated. It can be battery operated. So as long as your cameras can run, you can just switch in the middle of a market, or you can be in somebody's office and just touch the screen and do all the live switching there for a couple of $1,000 Australian.
So everything you've shown here, what I like is really simple. The novice, anyone can use these things.
It's not hard to use. I can use this, like my team know how to use it, but it can play with all sorts of stuff. But and this will plug into other things like other vision switches and things like that. But we use this to do what we call, well, my team call ISO recording. And ISO recording means isolated recording. So so if I was interviewing Linda from the US, I would give her a link to a software we use, and we would record all her video and audio on this, and we would recording my video and audio on something completely different. So there are a lot of little products from this was by a company called Atomos, and again, I found out they're Australian. Okay. And Atomos are literally 500 yards from where we are right here, and I just blew me away at some of the products. And I don't buy these products because they're Australian necessarily. I just buy do the research, buy some products that are reasonably priced that just work, because I'm not a big production house. And then I go and do some research and find out they're Australian. Blows me away.
Now you launched recently,
yes,
Talking Wealth TV,
correct,
which is a Netflix style, your own Netflix show, equivalent of that. How does that work, and how did you do that?
Well, we started out, we were in a bit of a business partnership with some people in Texas who had a studio, and they wanted to launch a streaming network over there. And they knew I had lots of content, so I was interviewing people in the US. It was via links. And so originally we started using the program OBS, and we used some of those sorts of things just cheaply to do that sort of stuff. Then we started subscribing to a company called Wirecast, which is what we use right now. So you can use Wirecast, or there's another one that's called, I think it's called vMix, a little bit more, about the same price, but same sort of thing, a little bit more complex. But with Wirecast, what we can do is send people a link, and it creates a virtual private network. So basically, if I've got one person on the camera in Texas and one person in London and one of us in Australia, it adds all our feeds together. So you need to have broadband. But what you're getting is 3 separate feeds of audio and video, so it's really good. So what we did was we set up with those guys, and they started streaming, but then COVID happened and all that, and all their things just didn't work and whatever else. And I went, okay, I want to do this myself. So we then started looking for what they call content delivery networks, or CDNs. So and looking for ones that had the front end as well, because a CDN is like Akamai is a big company, so they're the leaders in it, and they invented it. So anything you download from Apple, anything you download from possibly, I think it's Netflix, all goes through Akamai servers. It's a content delivery network, but you still need the front end to make it easy for you to put videos and everything in. So we looked around, we found a couple, and so we've just subscribed to one of those. They're not necessarily cheap, but you can set up your own streaming TV service. We're paying, we've just signed up for one. We're moving from the one we've had, which was very Indian based, and we've had a lot of trouble with them. And I won't tell you who they are, but we're now moving to one called Ustream, which is in the US. And we're paying $12,000 for a year to run Talking Wealth. So that's not bad.
And Talking Wealth you do your regular interviews on there, and people can access it on demand.
Yeah, it's basically a Netflix style thing where you go into web page, then you log in. You can see our thumbnails for free, but if you want to watch a video, then you subscribe. You can have a 7-day free subscription, or then you can pay monthly or yearly, just like you can on Netflix and any one of those sort of streaming type of networks. Soon we'll be launching what they call a linear TV station, probably in the next 6 to 12 months, which will just be like a normal TV station, just streamed live. And there are other platforms to do that, but it's pretty simple if you want to create your own TV show. Now, I'm at the moment, what I'm always on the look for is experts to interview, like you. When I met you, I said, right, I want to interview you. So I'm always looking for experts. I'm also looking for people to present. Because to me, talking wealth is it's about three things: money, mindset, and muscles. So money is anything to do with business, anything to do with investing, anything to do with creating money. Mindset is how we think, our attitude. So I'm looking for experts on that. And obviously muscle is health. So, and it doesn't matter where somebody is in the world. I'm looking for real experts to interview like yourself. And so that's why I got to meet, Adam Carroll yesterday morning and interviewed him. Brilliant, TEDx speaker with 6 million views and multiple TEDx viewers I've interviewed. I interviewed the gentleman who was the founder of the Daily Reckon in the US, a very well-known publication, financial services, and he runs a thing called the Wiggins Report now. And so to me, that's the sort of stuff I'm looking for, because I want to bring real content to people and give real experts a platform into a database, so to speak, if I can say that, of high quality individuals who are just not surfing the web and going to YouTube trying to get stuff. They're actually serious about wanting to learn better and will learn from experts and get quality information. So they're prepared to get curated stuff. I was going to say non-agnostic, but it's not filtered. As long as it's ethical and all those things, people can be on Talking Wealth and share their expertise. And therefore, what happens is then they're getting quality people are paying to watch the videos, and so therefore they'll get quality referrals through. And we don't take any of that. We just charge the membership fee.
Yeah. So that's something that, regardless of your expertise, you can package yourself and create your own channel. I'm going to open up to Linda and Lisa, open up the questions now. Ask Dale anything regarding technology or about your business.
Yeah, we were just thinking the same thing. Go ahead, Linda.
Yeah, I'm going back and saying, right about time for questions. So does anybody have a question? Raise your hand. Leslie has a question. Why don't you unmute?
Yes, thank you. I'm really enjoying this. Thank you, gentlemen.
Oops. Sorry, I think I accidentally unmuted you. Sorry.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. The sound should be good because I'm using an external good desk mic with a filter on it. So the former audio engineer person way back. This is a pretty technical question, and I hope you can answer it. I have seen, I'll give you an example of someone I've seen. It's a guy who analyzes music and guitar solos, and he's using an external camera. He's playing the music live in the studio without headphones, so he can hear it in real time, and he's stopping and starting it and teaching and talking about it. I cannot figure out how to be able to hear the music in the room without headphones, to stop and start it, to comment on it without feedback. And I can either, I don't want to do it on Zoom. I have a good external camera, got the mixer, got the mics, got the whole setup. I can't figure that part out. Would you know how to do that?
So you've got speakers playing the music to you while you're in the room in front of the camera?
I'm trying to, yes, because I don't want to wear headphones.
Easy. Here's your answer. This is brilliant. So there's two things that goes with this. This is called in-ear monitor. So you might, if you type in in-ear monitor into Google, you'll get a lot of them for, you see singers on stage or guitarists have these things that look like earbuds in their ears. That's called an in-ear monitor. This one is what, this makes it Wi-Fi. So you can get in-ear monitors with a cable. But what I do is I didn't bring one in. I have ones that have like the little bud and the little white clear tube around my ears. They're called IFB, or in-ear foldback. IFB.
Okay.
They're a little bit more expensive, but they'll plug directly in this. And this has this is called an XVIVE. Now we got these off eBay for like under $100. And what they do is they're a sender and a receiver. So the one on the bit on the left is you plug your IFB into it, or like any sort of earbuds with a cable into it, you can plug directly into the top, or headsets. But if you don't want to wear a headset, and I don't, I'm agreeing with you, that looks sloppy on a video. It doesn't look professional. So if you get an IFB or just a really discreet earbud with a cable on it, it'll plug into the little device on the left. The device on the right has what they call an XLR output, which is the same as a microphone. goes
Got
straight
it.
into any mixer, whatever you like, and it's
Yeah.
Wi-Fi. And you can walk around the room. You can, if you've got a lavalier microphone, whether it's cabled or a Wi-Fi one of those, but like seriously cheap. And this is what we use right now for our broadcasting.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Just one more quick question. Does that
Yeah.
box say what frequency channel that
It's got
any
about-
air holdback is on? Because I'm using a Sennheiser Studio Broadcast wireless mic, and I'd have to have them on different channels, right?
Yeah. I've got Sennheiser wireless lapel microphones or lavalier
Yeah.
microphones. So you've got to have them. This has got about 5 or 6 channels you can put it on.
Great.
So
Thank you very much. This is really great. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're a pro. I mean,
You do. Sennheiser make amazing microphones, and I've got Sennheiser headsets and everything, so they make great headsets. So.
I've been doing this since 4-track was exciting.
4-track, not 8-track, 4-track.
Yeah.
4-track, right after the Beatles started using it, and I trained in the first recording studio.
John and Paul. Did John and Paul train you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. In a recording, the first recording studio in Greenwich Village that had 4-track, and oh my gosh, we were so excited.
Wow. Now, can I just show you something else? I want to show you something else. This is a teleprompter. I've taken the glass out of it, but this is for an iPad. So you just sit your iPad in the front and the glass sits here, and it can mount on any tripod. And you put your DSLR lens in there or any sort of camera lens through there, and you can sit there, and there's free software for your iPad to run a teleprompter. And so you can sit it there. This is like $300 odd. The most expensive bit is the glass. You can actually hand make these if you like, but the glass is the expensive part because it's got to have, it's a 2-way glass or something, a 1-way glass, sorry. But it's cheap. We started off with using, it's called Data View. And we have 3 iPads in front of our cameras, and we use that wirelessly through a company called Data View. It's a little box that works on Wi-Fi, makes a little network between your iPads, and I have a little wireless control. It looks tiny little fault, and I can start and stop and do all sorts of stuff. It's great for doing standing in the street because you've got an iPad. You know, and you can get a little wired control for it as well. The Data View one of those, that's not a Data View. That is the Data View one, but there's cheaper ones than that. That one's probably $1,000, but it's very expensive for one. But it's so easy to use an iPad as a teleprompter.
any other questions?
Questions, anybody? Lisa, you got a question?
Well, I mean, it is a lot of good information. It's great that you can do this for, really a much more affordable price these days. It's made the barriers to entry a lot lower. I guess the only question I would have is if you have any, tips that you've learned along the way that you wish you would have known when you started this. They haven't already said, obviously. We've been talking about the technical side, but is there anything that that you wish you would have known or that's really led to some successful outcomes?
More, it's about, to me, nowadays it's easy to get good quality stuff. As I said, you can just put a tripod in front of you with an iPhone on it and get some really good quality imagery and also good quality sound if you like that. But to me, it was more around the presentation side of it, because whilst we can get technology to look good, and I do suggest people spend a little bit more than a little bit less on the technology. Whilst there's free things like OBS and things that come on your Mac, but one thing to me, it's like just spend a bit more on the microphone and spend a little bit more on getting a quality audio interface for your computer, not the cheap ones, because the cheaper ones we've bought, you can keep buying because they break on you, and then they break on you just when you need them to work. So getting a slightly better audio interface, and there's multiple ones there. You can get maybe for a couple of $100 rather than one for $50. And as I said, getting slightly better quality microphones from that. But also, to me, it's very much about getting the right environment, but also presenting it the right way. So to me, it's about doing vocal coaching too, because I watch a lot of, different videos and different people, whether it's on YouTube or etc. And they do things like you see them and they're just not set up properly. They're not sitting back from the camera. They're not giving themselves options. They're not articulating themselves correctly, but they haven't planned their podcast out. They haven't planned what are they going to be doing now. And that's really where things like the teleprompter can help. Because when I do interviews, I'll have the teleprompter with bullet points on it, so I can make sure that the interview flows. It's more about how you present is better, because people will accept a little bit of a blurry vision, and they might accept a little bit more of a funny sound, but you need to understand that you're there to entertain people, not just talk about yourself, if that makes sense. So to me, it's more around the whole presentation and making sure you look at what you're doing. I still watch every single live show I do, always watch it. And it's not just me on the live show. There's other people on the live show. I watch that. Constantly watch videos that I've done to pick up little things. It's called body language. It's about, not having like lapel microphones. So often I see people with lapel microphone and the wires dangling down, and they got pins in their pockets or badges hanging down, or they've got earrings that sparkle and go everywhere, or glasses that they haven't thought of that's going to affect the viewing. All of that distracts the person watching you and listening to you, and anything that distracts them, or having a garbage bin over your shoulder, little things, just tiny little things, distract people and pull down the quality of video. So to me, take an extra bit of time to set yourself up properly, record something, step back, and then look at it more critically about how is the viewer going to look at it. They're probably the big things, because some of the stuff that I did in my early days, I look at it and I just cringe. I went, that's terrible. And it's a process of evolvement, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. Like literally, I could come to anybody's house with a microphone, a couple of $100, and we're podcasting. It's literally that easy. But I could also come and spend $10,000 doing that, and it'll sound nice. Like I've offered Clifton to come in and use this gear to do his podcast, and I can guarantee it'll blow him away how the difference between what he's doing and what we can do here for not much more money. So that's one of the things I'm pushing him to do.
But the thing that amazed me at the moment, being in here, we're just in an office. And there's nothing special about this place, but it looks like a professional studio. The lighting and everything else, and I was blown away when I walked in here. And we can do this in our homes or wherever.
Yeah. I'm building a house about 35 miles from here for the US people, 75 kilometers for the metric people away from here. But I'll just have basically a real simple setup, a 3-legged tripod with this sort of camera that we're looking at now, a light attached to a crossbar with a light on it, and it'll just be in a bedroom, and I'll just put a few soft things around it, maybe some curtains or maybe some of that foam, and it'll look like I'm absolutely in a perfect studio. The other one thing is to do is watch your backdrops. What I do is if you go to talkingwealth.com and just click on one of the thumbnails, you'll see a background, and the background is the city of Melbourne. And all it is if you go to one of your local shops that do all the pull-up banners, etc., a few $100 maybe, and this one just sits on the floor. We pull it up, put a pole behind it, so it's like what you see in the big expos that you see in Vegas or wherever you are.
Pull-up banners.
Just pull-up banner. This one's about 5 feet wide, 6 feet wide, roughly, isn't it?
Yeah.
So pull it up, and it's got a blurred image. Now, interesting, people go, why is it blurred? It's because the camera won't pick it up if it's crystal clear. It'll look funny. It's a slightly blurred image of Melbourne, but if you look at it, you'll see Melbourne perfectly, and it's a beautiful sunny day in Melbourne, even if it's perfectly raining, but so cheap backdrop. So be careful. That was one of the things I find with a lot of people I interview. Some of their backgrounds are just not conducive for professionalism because they're in offices or whatever else. You've got cats walking across your cameras and dogs barking in the background or things happening. So make sure your background is good there. And it's a real cheap way of doing it. I started off live streaming with a $200 Australian set, a big green screen cloth taped to a wall, and the lights, there was 3 lights that come with it on some stands, and that's what I started, and a DSLR camera and this microphone. Like it literally a couple of $100 when I was live streaming, and the green screen iMovie, you can put things behind you from a green screen. It's so easy nowadays.
Questions,
So
Linda?
yeah, we do have one question. Sue would love to be recommended to a good voice coach. Sue, I don't know if you're in Australia or the US, so do you want to just unmute and tell us where you are? That might be helpful.
Yep.
Oh, there you are.
I'm in
Hi.
Australia. Yeah, Australia.
Yeah, I have someone I
In
can
Melbourne.
recommend for you, Sue. I got your email address. I'll reach out to you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks, Clifton.
I can't
Perfect.
recommend it enough when you start. If you want to sound proper, if that makes sense, is that good English? No. If you want to sound good, it helps you. It helps you with your articulation, and also helps you with the sound quality. And having a good voice coach to help you. I also did media training as well back 15, 20 years ago. I had a PR company come in and teach me how to do interviews. I've been interviewed by Bloomberg, CNBC, Sky, you name it, both overseas and in Australia. I presented overseas in China and all around the world. And I did that coaching to make sure that if I was working with media, then I knew how to do things with them and how they wanted stuff, but also how I could present myself. And I can't recommend that enough. If you want to be out there being interviewed, make sure you do voice coaching and as I said, get some media training from quality professionals. And it's not expensive nowadays.
That's fantastic. Well, we are at the end of the hour, amazingly, because I have the feeling the two of you could talk for another 3 hours and keep giving out toys. Like Santa Claus, here, and then there's this, and there's that, and there's this. So thank you both for doing this. And we're going to look forward to getting your list of goodies. So, because I know I couldn't keep track of all that stuff. There were too many things going by and lots of good information. So we really want to thank everybody. Before we go, I just want to remind everyone about what's coming up. Next Wednesday, the 26th at 3 p.m. Pacific, we have our monthly wind down get together networking. Then we are not going to do a webinar or an event in August. We're taking, I know in the Northern Hemisphere, or we're we're taking that month off. It's kind of a summer vacation. September, we're going to have a joint event with SPC, the Society for Professional Consultants, where we have an Ask the Expert about overcoming overwhelm, how to get to sustainable growth without driving yourself crazy. And then I really want to tell you about November. We have our annual meeting in person or virtual in San Diego on Tuesday, November 14th, followed by an Alan Weiss special, very low cost for SAC member, one-day event on being a remote millionaire on the 15th, and the start of a special mega mastermind group that we're putting together with limited space available on Thursday, the 16th. So we would love to see you at some or all of these things. And thank you again to both Dale and Clifton. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Absolutely.
If anybody has any questions that they want to ask afterwards, just email me at info@talkingwealth.com.
Or send Linda or send it to by me or whatever, and I'll make sure it gets there.
I've got a technical team behind me that can answer the technical question.
Excellent.
Thanks,
Well,
everyone.
thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank
Have
you.
a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.